Dearly beloved, this is the second time we press the record button. We're going to get it right this time. Do you love relationships? Do you love strategic partnerships? Do you like making money with your friends, the people that you care about? If you're like me, you all know that I have built my career for the last 21 years on the foundation of partnership, on trust, on finding that mutually beneficial sweet spot where everybody gets lifted up when you have an agreement. And that is what the base of the conversation is going to be about today with my special guest, Kevin Thompson, who's the founder of the Impact and Legacy Collective and host of the Million Dollar Relationships podcast. So, Kevin is a strategic partnership expert, and he's personally created over $16 million in revenue exclusively through high value relationships. And after building $1 million one person business, Kevin now focuses on helping entrepreneurs like all of you listening or watching this right now to find new opportunities for themselves through partnerships and relationships. And I am very excited about this conversation because, as everybody knows, this has been my jam. This has been how I've focused on growth over the years as well. Right now, our kids' audio entertainment company, MAJIK Kids, last year we closed 45 licensing and distribution partners. We've got proposal in motion for 700 plus schools in California, ed tech, kid tech, media tech companies. The whole premise of how we're going to grow is by leveraging relationships, finding that sweet spot that we bring something, a partner brings something, and we create something that could not be created unless we had each other. And so, Kevin, I really appreciate you taking some time today to come talk with me and to let my audience glean from the wisdom that you've gained from all of the work that you've done to build partnerships.
Yeah, you bet. I'm looking forward to this too. And what a testament to everything you're talking about. Because you and I met because somehow or another you're connected with Miguel,
Yes.
and I got connected with Miguel a little while back, probably a couple of months ago, through a mutual friend. And then I did an interview for his podcast, and then I think if I remember, you saw that or something,
Yeah.
and then you and I got connected because of that and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man, this is right up my alley. We got to talk.
Yeah.
And so thanks for taking the time. We both live pretty close to each other. You're just over the water in Washington. I'm up here on Salt Spring Island, British Columbia. I'm curious for you when going into new conversations that you're testing the waters to see if there's a partnership possibility. What are some of the check boxes you go to, or what are you watching for to know if this relationship is something that you're going to move forward with as for in a partnership sort of context?
Yeah, so I'm always looking far over and above what somebody does. I don't care what somebody does or what business they're in or any of that. I care way more about who they are and how they show up.
Yeah.
And are they somebody who places a high value on relationships? Are they someone who honors those relationships? Are they someone who's using their business as the vehicle to make their biggest impact? Are they someone who just shows up ready to help and serve and contribute and pour into others, and so much so that's kind of pretty much just hardwired into their DNA. They couldn't show up any other way.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of entrepreneurs that I look for, whether I'm looking to partner with them myself or whether I'm looking to make introductions for them and help them, make a bigger impact through their business.
Amazing. And looking at your website here, is you're talking about doing strategic partnerships and so many different types of businesses, from self-defense to health and fitness, weight loss, emergency preparedness, consumer publishing, self-improvement, meditation, dental care, chiropractic, and credit repair, just to name a few on your website. And when I look at that list, I'm like, I have a checkbox of somebody who pops into my mind for every single one of those categories of like, oh yeah, they would be great, they would be a good connection. And I feel like it's such a gift when we can simply meet somebody, find out what their need is, have the light bulb, like I know who to connect you with. We make that intro, and then that's where the sparks fly and magic is made. I see you as a matchmaker. And I'm curious if you have any stories that come to mind around the magic of a match that you helped to make, and kind of the ripple effects that happen when you put two people together.
Oh, I could tell you so many stories from over the years. And so I have been doing this for 22 years. And I used to run a publishing company,
Okay.
and you know, that business really grew quickly because of all the strategic partnerships that I did and other entrepreneurs who helped me get my message out into the marketplace and stuff. And that business would not have grown
Yeah.
without those partners and stuff. And so I was incredibly appreciative and grateful for those partners. And I just treated them really, really well. And so, you know, I did revenue shares with all of them. And I was very generous in those revenue shares. I was giving them 40% of the revenue that we would create together.
Wow.
And so, you know, what I mean, like, we did, I mean, you can see on the website the dollar amounts of some of the projects that we did and stuff. And but I'll tell you, you know, so we did lots of projects in the, you know, well, we do 20,000, 30,000, 60,000 in sales. But you know, one of the big project that came, I don't remember what year it was. Bill Harris has since passed away, but Bill Harris was the founder of a company called Centerpoint Research Institute. And I got connected with Bill through a mutual friend who introduced us. And at that point in my life, a lot of people had been telling me, you know, Kevin, you know, like some of these bigger companies, they're like, Kevin, you know, you're doing your thing, but to get in touch with somebody from a larger company, it's going to be more challenging because you're not on the same ball field as them,
Hmm.
you know. And Bill would definitely qualify. Centerpoint Research Institute was definitely a much larger, I don't know how much volume they were doing, but it was a lot more than I was doing. And well, he had 1 million+ people on his email subscriber list. So, you know,
Yeah.
he had a pretty good
Telling you
size,
something.
you know, list of people that he was in communication with. And and when him and I did a project, the whole thing happened so easily and so organically because when him and I had a conversation, just got to know each other a little bit. And he was like, you know, Kevin, he's like, what I appreciate about what you are doing is that he said, you're just the real deal, teaching stuff that you've used that works. He's like, and I already know this stuff works because I've used it to build Centerpoint Research Institute. And so when he suggested we do something together, it was like so easy. And that first event that him and I did, we did a teleseminar. I mean, teleseminars aren't even a thing anymore, so that kind of dates it. But we did 187,000 in revenue from that very first one in just a 24-hour period and stuff.
Amazing.
And that's some horsepower right there.
Yeah.
And Bill, you know, he was the most gracious guy to work for. Him and I did a bunch of stuff together after that. And it wasn't about the revenue at all. It was about the impact.
Hmm.
And you know, people coming back to him, even people that did not invest in what we were doing, that come back and said, you know, hey, thanks so much for doing that thing with Kevin because that was really valuable and stuff. And that really opened my eyes to some new things that I hadn't thought about and stuff. And you know what partnering really is, Bradley, is just two people coming together to do something far bigger together than either one of them could possibly do on their own and stuff.
Yeah.
That's what partnering is in my mind.
Yes, that's the alchemical process that happens, when you bring the ingredients of two different individuals with their own superpowers and strengths, and you come together and you find that alignment and you go forward together.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. And for yourself, like you've done so many different types of partnerships. Can you give some definitions of like what types of partnerships you would look to do with other creators out there? Because I've talked about plenty of different things over my career around licensing and strategic partnerships. I'm curious just to give people ideas because we don't know what we don't know. I didn't know licensing was a possibility, and until all of a sudden I started licensing my audio library, and now it's almost like I got to tell everybody about this because I've made a ton of money and reached millions of people by leveraging other people's platforms.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, doing something. So, and now, I don't run the publishing company anymore.
Yeah,
I ran that company for 12 years until 2016. So from '04 to 2016. And now my role is more of a connector, of a conduit. I'm a conduit of trust for
yeah,
the entrepreneurs that I serve. And so they run businesses, and I make introductions and connections for them that are going to help them make a bigger impact in doing what they already do. So,
beautiful.
for example, I mean, I'll just one top of mind because this is just they just sent me money yesterday. and so, and so so there's this gal, Marsha Martin, and she has got this amazing background. And she's a real expert on sales. And I introduced her to this other guy, Matt. And Matt ended up hiring her. And so she went and did a 2-day workshop for his team, his sales team. And she billed $25,000 for that 2-day workshop and stuff. And in that instance, I get a percentage of that because I helped her make that connection. She wouldn't have made that and she wouldn't have got that client if not for me connecting her with him and
Nice.
stuff. And so that's what I look for now.
Yeah,
I look for, and it's got to have, the entrepreneurs I serve, they got to have certain foundational things in place.
yeah,
They've already got, they already know what they offer and their value proposition and stuff. And they already know that, when they're talking with the right kind of person, they can convey that value proposition effectively so that that person, if it's a right fit, can say yes to that offer and stuff.
yeah,
Because that's not my expertise. You've already got to have that all figured out,
yeah,
But if you've got that figured out and you are the kind of entrepreneur that we have been talking about here, well, it is really, really easy for me to do my thing.
yeah.
And I can just see those connections and stuff. And I love making introductions that lead to 5-figure, 6-figure, 7-figure opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the proposals. So we do finder's fee as well. So right now, Magic Kids, we're raising investment capital and we're seeking out strategic partnerships, distribution partnerships, tech partnerships, etc. And so we have a finder's fee contract, and when people are like, I have an intro for you, they fill out the contract and then we pay them. This one contract we have is close to $1 million a year for a licensing partnership in the school system down in California. And that's a pretty epic finder's fee that a partner will get. And for us, it's like, I would so much rather sign a check over for 6 figures a year to a friend, to somebody I care about, to somebody whose family I'm coming to know, versus putting that $100,000 into Facebook ads and going to Mark Zuckerberg and all of his people. It's like, who would you rather flow money to? Big tech companies or people who you're growing with?
Yeah.
It's like, I'd rather get rich with my friends. It's way more fun if me and my friends are all doing business together and we're all closing deals and getting wealthy and like raising and making impact. Like, it's more fun that way.
You bet. You
Yeah.
bet. And
Yeah.
that's what it all is. That's, in the simplest of terms, that's what it is. I'm just doing cool stuff with my friends and making a big impact.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've done the work of building a network that trusts you. And so that's the beautiful thing. So how can people, what are some ways that people listening right now, like, well, I'm just in the early stages of building out my network. How can people think about early stages so that as they're every conversation they're having, they're thinking about relationships and partnerships, they're thinking about leverage points, and they're thinking about like the long game of fostering these types of connections. What sort
Yeah.
of things did you think about early on, or have you learned to implement into your thinking as you've approached relationships?
You bet. Well, the first thing, even before having that initial conversation with somebody is, okay, how do I even get in contact? How do I even start getting in contact with the right kind of people?
Yeah,
And the beautiful thing is with, this day and age with social media, you mentioned Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, it is like Facebook and LinkedIn. Well, I mean, that's how you and I met, was
LinkedIn.
because of Miguel, you
Yeah,
know and you ended up reaching out and said, "Hey, I listened to that interview that you did with Miguel, and man, that just really resonated with me. And now here we are communicating and having a conversation and getting to know each other and stuff. And it's that simple. And it really is. We want to try to make this really, difficult in our mind, but it comes down to this. It's like it's this whole thing of active appreciation, because here's the deal: no matter who somebody is, no matter how successful they are, no matter how big of a business they run, no matter how great things look from the outside looking in, there is not a person on this earth that gets too much appreciation. We all crave more genuine appreciation. And so, like when you reached out to me the way you did and said, "Man, Kev, I really appreciated that interview you did with Miguel, and I'd just like to talk with you more and get to know you a little bit." And you know what, man, that gets people's attention. I mean, it worked here.
yeah,
and I've been doing that for years, reaching out and just showing genuine appreciation to people. If you see them post an interview, if you see them post an article, whatever, reach out to them and just acknowledge them and just show some genuine appreciation. And you watch what happens. You're going to find yourself getting in conversations.
yeah,
and uh and of course, and then you start, if you got other people around you that can be that connector and conduit of trust, helping you do that too, that's a bonus. And then once you're in a conversation, when I'm having a conversation with an entrepreneur for the first time and getting to know them, uh I do not carry the conversation at all, because a lot of people, especially if they're more introverted, they're like, "Oh, what would I say, and what would I even talk about?" Good news, you don't got to talk about nothing. All right. All you got to do is ask a good question.
yeah.
And so one of the questions I love asking of entrepreneurs is, "Man, what are you working on right now that's got you most jazzed and inspired?" And they will start talking. Promise. I
Yeah.
promise you they will. And then you listen to them. Listen to them and hear what they're saying, and be actively engaged in listening, and not waiting for your turn to talk and tell them about what you do and all that stuff, but just listen to them. And then, based on what they share, ask more questions about it, because you're genuinely interested. And I'll tell you what happens, because I've been doing this stuff for years. We end up giving people this experience that they hardly ever get to receive, this amazing gift of being seen, heard, and understood. And when we give people that gift and we make them feel that way, just by asking questions and listening, and then just asking more questions, and they can see that we're engaged and actually getting to know them, that that's how we make them feel, is so much more important than anything we say. And like I said, you don't have to carry a conversation, just ask questions, and trust me, they're going to get to a point where they're going to, like, "Man, Kev, okay, I want to talk about you now. Tell me about what you do and stuff." They're just going to do that. It's going to happen organically.
Yes. Yeah, and I will add to it of like as you ask the questions, one that I always love to leave people with is, what are some of your current needs? What are you looking for? What are you trying to figure out right now? Because maybe there's somebody I can connect you to. Maybe there's a way that I could help. So let me know. And then they'll tell you the things they're trying to figure out. And that's where
That's
like the light bulb's like, oh, I got this person I could connect you with. How about this? And then I think like the biggest piece, which has I feel like it's a lost art that needs to be found again, which is the follow through and follow up. So follow through on what you said you were going to do immediately, and then follow up with the person if you don't hear back from them again in a little while. And those two pieces of just like fostering and nurturing that connection and keeping that connection going is like it's how you grow the fire.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what it's all about is creating these relationships that are we're in this for the long game, you know.
Yes, that's
And,
right.
and not every relationship is going to be a long-term relationship, but
Yep.
I will tell you, my very first introduction to marketing, when I was totally a greenhorn, didn't have a clue what I was doing. When I started my very first business back in 1995, my goodness, so that was 31 years ago now. The first guy I ever met was this guy, Joe Polish. And Joe and I are still great friends to this day, 31 years later,
So fun. So
and
fun.
uh and so there will be those long-term relationships too and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm sure you guys can think back 31 years of all the introductions you've made for each other that
Yeah,
have led
yeah,
to amazing experiences and prosperity.
yeah,
You know, it's we're in this time right now where I really believe we're way stronger if we link arms and we work together.
you
And
bet.
we don't have to share a business, we don't have to become each other's business partners, but we can become each other's business allies and lift each other
Yeah,
up and
you
look out
bet.
for each other.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
curious, you've built it sounds like this phase of your career lasts like 16 or so years, as you said. Like you've built a career on strategic partnerships, and some people might be like, well, you're just making an introduction, you're just sending an email and connecting to people, you're just making a phone call for somebody and seeing if there's interest in meeting this other person, and then they go do the work. And I've had friends that are connectors who undervalued themselves, who help to close multi-million dollar deals by making that email introduction, and they didn't have the structure or the perceived value in what they were doing to declare that if I make this introduction for you, then here's my cut. This is what I would like. And so I'm curious how, when somebody comes to you like, you're going to make an introduction for a potential strategic partnership, how you go about thinking about deal structure, percentages, etc. Because it can be
yeah,
very different no matter, what kind of relationship you're looking at.
yeah. So even before any, deal flow or percentages or anything like that, I am always looking at, if I do this, if I make this introduction, will it further the relationship that I already have with the person on the other end?
Yeah.
You know, because so like, Joe, for example, we go back 31 years, and so anybody that I would connect with Joe, for whatever reason they might want to be connected with him, I've got to ask myself, well, what's Joe going to think about this?
Yeah.
And I also, so and that person, it's not just get me connected with Joe for what I can ask of Joe. No, it's like what are you going to have to offer Joe?
Yes.
How are you going to help me further the relationship? Because here's the deal, it is the easiest thing for me to make an introduction. I can draft up an email. I mean, it probably in most cases takes me less than 10, 15 minutes to draft up a really amazing introduction email.
Yeah.
That does not take much time, but it's kind of like turning our water faucet on.
Yeah.
All we do is we turn on that water and it just flows, hot or cold for us. But there's infrastructure behind that to get that water to come out when we just turn that knob. Turning that knob is the easy part. Turning the knob, there's the water. But there's a whole lot of infrastructure behind that for that to make that happen. And I will tell you, that for 22 years, I have invested 7 figures plus, putting myself in the right rooms to meet the right people and create these relationships over a 22-year period that I've been intentionally focusing on this.
Yeah.
And so, just because it's easy to make the introduction, there's a whole backstory there,
Yeah.
and there's relationships there that are of immense value. and they are treated as such. I guard those relationships, you
Yeah.
know. And
Yeah.
so, and I expect that if I'm going to make an introduction for somebody, and anybody who values relationships is going to want this. They want you to help them look like a rock star. They want that person that they introduce you to coming back to them, going, "Wow, thanks so much for
Yeah.
introducing me to them, Kevin."
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what we want.
That's the aim. And so, as a connector, how does somebody set you up for success to make those introductions? What needs to be in place for you to feel that, like, yeah, I'm going to
Yeah.
make the intro. I'm going to risk my reputation with this person, with my network, because I believe this connection is worth being made.
Yeah. So they're already, they are, like I said, using their business to make their biggest impact. They are somebody who they themselves place a very high value on relationships. They are a giver through and through. I mean, they show up all the time, ready to help and serve and contribute and pour into others and stuff. And those are some of the key things that I look for. And they've got their thing down already, that like if they are talking with somebody, they can communicate their value effectively and stuff, that they already know how to do that piece of it and
Yeah.
stuff. And so that's who I look for. And so, and that's, but when you're out there doing your thing and connecting on your own and stuff through whatever, just reaching out to people or what have you and stuff, I get it. Some people, we all got to start somewhere. We all
Yeah.
have to start somewhere. And I got a guy right now, he's starting a new thing. But for crying out loud, he's been an aviator, he's been a fighter pilot for many years, he's been an executive with Raytheon. He has done consulting with companies that helped him get some amazing results, and he is starting a new thing. But the thing is he's got background, he's got experience, and so yes, he's figuring out the new thing, but he's got enough already that like just he just needs to be connected with the right kind of people to like just be
Yeah.
able to see him for who he is and what he can offer them and stuff. That's all he just needs connected with the right people.
Yeah.
And even though he's starting something new, he's got that background and that experience already behind him and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. So back to the deal structure question, because I feel like you really nailed the piece on what it takes for you to even entertain the possibility of making an introduction.
Yeah.
And then once you know you're going to make the introduction, do you just kind of lay it all out of like, this is my percentage, or is it a conversational piece? Like, where are you at in the actual structure of deal flow when you're making introductions?
So, okay, so here's the deal for me. Um, Everybody who knows me for doing what I do, we've already got deal structure in place and
Yeah.
stuff. And so anybody who comes to me that I'm getting to know, if I find out that you might be really valuable for someone in my network and stuff, and that you're a right fit and there's alignment there and all that, I'll make an introduction for two or two just to see how things transpire. Heck, I might even bring you into my world
Yeah.
and invite you as my guest and bring you in with clients and start making it, because I host stuff on Zoom, and I'll get you together, and I might even bring you into my world that way. And I won't charge you for that. I'll bring you as my guest just so I want to be able to experience it. I want to give you that experience. I just want to see, how do people respond to you and stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, we'll both know if it feels right to have a deeper conversation or not,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm like, no harm, no foul, either way. I don't care.
Yeah.
But if we do get to the point of having a deeper conversation of, okay, would it make sense maybe for me to be your personal conduit of trust and start making the and like doing more of this and being way more intentional about this.
Yeah.
And if we have that conversation for clients that actually get to that point, I offer them a couple different ways. So they can do a what I call the ownership track, and they can become a client with me, and it's $4,000 a month, and then they keep 100% of the revenue from everything we do together.
Yeah.
Or if they want to do the partnership track, what we do is it's just a 2,000 a month retainer, and then we do a revenue share of anywhere between 10 to 20%, depending on what kind of industry, what kind of business they're in and stuff. And we'll do it that way.
Yeah.
And what I always tell people, and most of the people will do the partnership and do the revenue share with me, which that's a win for both of us because what it does it offers aligned incentives as well as an upside for both of us and stuff.
Yes.
And I much prefer that over the ownership track and stuff. And I've only got two clients on the ownership track. Everybody else is on the partnership track, and I like it that way. And like even nobody gets off the partnership track once they're on. And I've got clients have been with me for 5 years doing that and stuff.
Yeah,
And so
yeah, yeah. With Magic Media, my creative agency, 6 or 7 years ago, I shifted from like doing fee for service client stuff to doing revenue share partnerships. So
yeah,
they pay a retainer that's lower than what we would normally charge for our creative services. And they pay a rev share for usually it's 2 to 3 year rev share on the work that we do together. And the upside as an entrepreneur was so much more satisfying, even on projects that weren't as profitable. Because some were more profitable than others because they just,
yep,
it was the right
yep,
situation and it popped. But even the ones that were less profitable were still more fulfilling because I knew that like the entrepreneurial spirit inside of me was being fulfilled in all the ways that I need, and there was a reward at the end of this project and putting our work into it. And
yeah.
sometimes we know in entrepreneurship some things work out better than what we'd anticipated and others don't, but the upside on them, it always far outweighed the other option, which was just a fee for service.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And I know, doing it this way and doing a revenue share, we obviously, you and I both, we have to be really intentional about who we offer that to, because we can't just offer that to everybody,
No, they got to be ready.
and yeah, they got to be ready and they got to show up the right way and all that kind of stuff too. And but I'll tell you what, when we figure out who the ideal person is or who the ideal company is or what have you, and we offer them, oh, I'll tell you what, man, that is just such a beautiful thing because the revenue share far outweighs the monthly retainer and stuff.
Yeah,
And things get, and I will tell you from personal experience, the more we do this, the more we become known in the right circles for doing this. And I don't become known in the right circles by advertising or posting on social media. I mean, I do a little bit of that, but I mean, candidly, reach on social media is getting more and more difficult all the dang time.
you got to
You
pay
know,
more and more money.
and yeah, yeah. And in reality, social media, LinkedIn, whatever, is not going to get me connected with the people that I want to connect with and do it in the right. You are not getting the likelihood of you getting connected with. I mean, I'll just throw somebody out there because I recently interviewed him for the podcast that's running a $750 million business. You're not going to get connected with them just by reaching out on social media or what have you. You've got to get a personal introduction for somebody like that. You have to have a mechanism in place for getting connected. But once you come in the side door
Yeah.
through a welcome introduction, now doors open right up and you get to have a conversation.
Yeah. And
And
ultimately, marketing boiled down to its simplest form is conversation. That is
that's
all we're
right.
having.
That's right.
Whether it's broadcasting to an audience, it's a conversation with them to find right alignment, whether it is seeking a licensing or distribution partnership or referrals, it's all conversational. And then when we find that right alignment, the magic happens and things start to fall into place.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if people can so many people resist the idea of marketing, and they feel like they have to put on a mask or do things that are manipulative, and that's not the sense at all. It's like if we're just conversational and honest,
Yeah.
we that leads us to where we're all trying to go.
Yeah. I'll tell you, yeah, it is not about putting on our game face or our mask or feeling like we need to show up a certain way
Yeah.
in a certain situation. No, we just get to be us all the time.
Yeah.
And complete with what we might perceive as our weirdness or our faults or whatever, because you know what, that's what endears the right people to us, realizing they're like, oh yeah. I mean, I remember the first time I got to hang out with Joe Polish years ago. When I first met him, it was at an event, and it was his event. He was speaking on stage, 300 plus people there and stuff. And afterwards, at the end of the couple days, everybody's just mobbing him. Oh man, Joe, you're amazing. You're amazing. And truth is, he is. He absolutely is. But the first time I got to actually hang out with him one on one and just spend time with him, and I discovered that, like, wow, you know what? He's really amazing what he does, but he's just a normal guy, just like me. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I have friends that are billionaires. I got friends that are multimillionaires and all of that stuff and everything in between. And what I can tell you is that we are way more alike than we are different. Every single one of us is doing the best we can with what we got, you know.
Mhm.
And when we just show up and be us, not trying to act like a certain way, because that feels weird anyways, and it's not us. So we're just like, I mean, for example, wearing suits. I hate wearing suits.
Me too.
Now I will rent a tuxedo for occasions and what have you, and it's cool to get dressed up and go out. But if I had to wear a suit every day, man, oh man, that is not for me, man.
Yeah.
And I don't mind wearing a button-up, nice dress, nice shirt and stuff, but you will hardly ever find me in a suit. I do not even own a suit now that I would wear. so
Same. Same.
so
Yeah. Um, I'm curious, as just like a kind of a final point of advice. I'm sure people are listening to this or watching this. They're inspired and like, okay, I'm feeling it. I'm gonna take the Kool-Aid that you guys are passing around here. For people that are not super well networked for myself, like for me, I live in a rural island in the Pacific Northwest. Most of the people that live on my island are artists or farmers or contractors that are
mhm,
building houses and plumbing, toilets and sinks and all of the electricians and that. So my network is not on this island.
sure.
And so I've had to expand beyond the reaches of my island for people that maybe aren't that networked. What are some starting points for them to like go start building their network, start making referrals, finding people that are in alignment? Where would you start if you had no Rolodex right now?
Yeah. So I would just start on social media. And here's where I would actually start is because every one of us have a phone with contacts in it,
Yeah.
and so you just do this to start with and just have this experience, okay? And so what I'm going to challenge you to do, you just choose 10 people out of your phone that are already your contacts, and that and I don't care, it could be business contacts, it could be friends, it could be family, doesn't matter who. And what I want you to do, and heck, maybe you want to do it with 20 people if you want to, but do this in a compressed amount of time, like in the next 24 hours. Send messages to those 10 or 20 people. And in those messages, all you're going to do is let each one of those people know one thing that you just genuinely appreciate about them. And you're going to send them a message, and you're going to send out some love, and you're not going to do anything else. You're not going to ask for anything in return. You're not even going to ask for a response in return. You're just going to send out some appreciation. And you do that, do it like with at least 10 people in a compressed amount of time of like within the next 24 hours. You could do it with more if you want to, but you watch what happens. You just watch. And I'm going to tell you what, you are going to be like, holy shit. You are going to have such an amazing experience, and you're going to come to the realization that, like, I caused that to happen. My actions caused that to happen. And you have that experience, and you're going to be like, you're going to trust me. You're going to be like, man, Kev, I want more of that. And
Mm.
all you got to do is just keep being appreciative of people, man. And so now you can take that online. You can take that on social media. You can take that on Facebook. You can take that on LinkedIn. You can find articles and podcasts. You can and like you just reach out to people, and you don't even have to have their contact information. You'll find it, and you can send them a message and just say, "Hey, like you did with me. Hey, Kev, I really appreciate that interview that you did with Miguel. That was really awesome, man." And look what happened. You sent me that message and I replied.
Who would have thunk? I I love that. Inside of I've been running a mastermind called the Magic Mind for about 12 years, and every month, one of the exercises I give everybody in the mastermind, I said, pull out your phone. It's time to nurture your relationships. Go into your contacts. We're going to spend 15 minutes and we're going to go into your phone and you're going to reach out and just check in with the people that you've lost touch with. It could be family, friends, it could be people you've met at events, it could be long lost clients that you haven't talked to in 3, 4 years. And, it's like we've been sold by the marketing man that we need more of everything, more clients, more money, more relationships, more everything. But really, it's depth that we're all yearning for. And depth comes from cultivating and nurturing what we already have. And as you just said so perfectly, I loved what you said of just like appreciating what and who we already have around us and fostering that through appreciation. It's just like it's feeding the well, and that comes back in ways we can't imagine or expect.
Yeah. Yeah, and when we just show genuine appreciation and we're intentional about doing that, and you can be like, whatever, that you know what, I'm going to show, genuine appreciation to at least one person a day or to at least three people a day or whatever. Or like mentioned reaching out to just people that you haven't been in contact with in a while,
Yeah.
and a simple message, hey, Brett, I was thinking about you today and just wanted to reach out. How you been? That could be the whole message right there. That's it.
It. Yeah.
That's all you need to send.
That's it.
And who knows what's going on in their life at that moment in time when they receive that, and like that, man, you were just the person that like, man, who knows what's going on,
Yes. Yes,
and
that's exactly it. Is like it's become one of my go-to practices where I feel stuck in my work or I'm not sure what to do. It's like go through your contacts and just go ping somebody that you were in conversation with weeks ago that's now not in conversation. Like keep the field warm. Keep that field of connection warm with the people who matter.
yeah,
Yeah.
amen,
Well,
amen.
that's a beautiful ending point. Where can people come engage with you and your work? Where's your favorite place to send people?
You can find me on Facebook. I'm Kevin the Connector on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn too, but I'm way more active on Facebook. You can maybe you might want to check out our podcast. I've been running a podcast called $1 Million Relationships for, gosh, well, almost 4 years now. We've released over 350 episodes,
Nice.
and I will tell you, hosting that podcast has been hands down the most rewarding and impactful thing I've done in my 30 years as an entrepreneur and stuff. It has been such an amazing experience, and maybe you check out that podcast, and if it resonates with you, and you're the kind of entrepreneur that it would make sense for maybe us to do an interview, then reach out to me, and we can have a conversation, get to know each other a little bit, and yeah, if it makes sense, we can do an interview for the podcast and stuff.
Maybe do
So
some business after the podcast.
maybe. So,
I love it. Thank you for the generosity of time and for the wisdom that you've shared. It's wonderful to meet somebody that is so aligned in the drum I've been banging on for the last 9 years since I left the metaverse and have leaned into relationships as my primary way for making impact and growing my business and, feeding and housing my family
Yeah.
and supporting all of the clients that we've worked with is this is ultimately, the way we take our power back from big tech companies that don't necessarily want us to have that power. And if we can just lean into relationships and connections, we're all going to do a lot better.
Amen.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
amazing. Well, Kevin, thank you. I feel like to be continued with us. We got more to
Yeah,
talk about.
for sure. For sure.
Okay, everybody, stay awesome.